Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Give people a few minutes here to join. Be Thursday. Hope everyone's having a nice week. We have a really exciting session today. We are going to be talking about seeing what AI tells about you or says about you in just 20 minutes. So many of the founders and marketers that I talk to on a weekly basis really struggle to understand what is necessary or what is required to show up and rank in AI. I was talking to a senior leader of a very large, financial product yesterday, and even she was self-aware that wasn't sure of all the mechanics that actually go into getting your company to rank consistently on AI. And so, what I thought we would go through today is do a live teardown uh, of auditing a real company and understanding what is impacting the rank, and then the actionable steps that we can take to get them to rank higher. And so in this session, it will be a very interactive session. We really like to be engaging and interactive in these weekly sessions, especially on our Thursday ones. And so, if you guys could please use the chat, I'm going to be asking questions throughout. I'm hoping that you guys will ask me questions as well. And so I can answer them specific to what your needs are. This is your, opportunity to speak to someone who has a lot of experience in this. We've worked with 150 different companies over the last couple of years and have helped companies who are, pre-revenue, $10 million in revenue, all the way up to 100 million in revenue, crack the code to helping them show up in AI. And everyone has a slightly different strategy, but they're all rooted in the same fundamentals. And so as we go through today, uh, I want to hear questions. I want to see how you guys are thinking about this and how you can be applying this to your own website and your own business. So, as we get started here, I was wondering if anyone is brave enough to share their website address here, and we can actually do the breakdown for your company specifically. And this can be essentially a free training session for you. If not, we can just go ahead and run through our normal example. But I like to do them live because, kind of get that back and forth between someone who's thinking about this on a day to day basis. No company is too small, no company is too big. We can talk through all of them together. Also, if you want to run this for yourself, you can use the link that I'm attaching in the chat, and you can just run the audit on your own, and it will give you instructions on how to do it. That is also showing up on the stream now. Well, it doesn't look like we have anyone. So what I'm going to do is just fill in an example. We're going to use Attio. They are a modern CRM company. Oh, there we go. Nice. I love the real estate ones. Perfect. Cool. Okay. So this is for Rotowski Real Estate. Thank you for for doing this. Proud of you for being brave. So essentially what happens here is we are going to run a an audit on fresh AI scans. And so I think this is the first thing that a lot of people overlook is they will go to their own Claude or their own Gemini ChatGPT workspace and type in best real estate agents in it looks like you're based out of Southern California. So, best real estate agents in Southern California, and they'll probably see their own name. This is a little bit of a false positive. It's not always necessarily a false positive, but it can be because your AI has a memory of who you are, and it's actually going to try to hedge towards, having you show up and rank in this. And so, when when we run this, when you run it on your own, essentially what will happen is you get kind of a good indication that you're ranking, but that's might not necessarily be the case for other people searching those things. And so what we do is when we run this audit is we spin up new, fresh LLM chats and we run through a series of queries of what your buyer might be searching. So in this instance, for Ratowski Real Estate, it might be, properties or homes for sale, best realtors, homes for sale in Laguna Beach, California, right? So something that your buyer actually is searching to help make a purchasing decision. And so what we get is we get a larger data set. We do this 100 times per each time you run this audit. And what this does is it gives us a spectrum, right? Because it's not consistent. On your phone, on your computer, on someone else's computer, they could search the same thing and get different results. It is not deterministic because it is AI. And so we want to, scan it as many times as we can to be able to get a accurate representation of how much you're actually showing up and actually ranking. Second. And so this is how we get this baseline understanding. And now what we're seeing here is you're getting an overall AEO score. 56 is quite high. Congratulations. That is because you're already seemingly showing up in different search engines. Now, I've run a few of these sessions with individuals from Compass Real Estate, and I think the Compass domain gives you a little bit of a boost, which is awesome. So there's a little added benefit there. But what we can see is we break this score down by three different factors. Are you credible? Which means are third party authority sites saying, yeah, these people are legit, right? Offsite mentions, other publications that talk about real estate in these markets, are they referring to you and giving you a credible reference? The next is readable. And so, can AI actually read your website? So this is, are you publishing, or sorry, this is your technical setup. So this is things like schema. This is things like website structure. Is your website loading fast? And this is how it's just saying like, are you a readable website in general? Then substantive. This is where it comes down to what content you're posting on your website. So we can see here, if we pull over the website, it looks like we have a nice, we have a significant amount of content on the website here. And then these subpages that have community specific, looks like, pages that have content, have rich information, structured data. All of this is really strong. I think there's a huge opportunity with AI search right now with real estate because AI is loving structured data. And of course, there's so much data that we can pull in around residential markets, on individual properties, and things like that, that we can display to show that, hey, we know a lot about our industry. It looks like you're doing a fairly good job of this. The next thing, so those three metrics are what come and make up your overall AEO score. You can scroll down here and you can actually see how you're being cited on different search engines or different LLMs, excuse me. You can see we break it down by ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, and Google AIO. Google AIO is when it's Google AI overview. So when you go to Google and you show up there now. Looks like that's where you're showing up the least amount right now, but you're showing up quite high on the other ones. That's fantastic. So let's look at who is winning. We break it down and we show the full list of where you are. So you're not showing up in this, you are not showing up in this, on this category that high compared to some of your other incumbents on here. Looks like you're showing up about 77%. This is a very saturated, market with different keywords. And so what I would recommend here is focusing on your on-site content. The two biggest levers we can pull right now are on-site and off-site content. And so we can see, let's see, pull up. I like looking at the individual query. So on this page, we actually have the 50 searches that we ran um, across each of the LLMs. And so you can see you were shown on ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, Google AI Overview was not. I'm actually seeing a little bit of a confusion that is happening because I think it is picking up Compass versus. No, I actually think this is real. Hold on, let me just pull this up. I don't want to give any false information here. Got it. So it's referencing you as top agent in these markets. It looks like we have a question here on how can I increase my Google AEO. So yeah, each LLM essentially prefers a different type of information. Google or Google AI AIO, excuse me, with all the acronyms, really prefers things that are native to Google search, right? So it is going to, prefer best practices that align with Google best practices. And so that means the higher you're ranking on SEO, the more likely you are to rank on Google AI Overview. Whereas ChatGPT, because it was trained primarily off of Wikipedia, it still actually prefers, formal structured Wikipedias, essentially, wikis of information coming from, the internet. Whereas Perplexity, Grok, and Claude are all preferring more third party citations and kind of more community focused. And so here you can actually see, and again, you're doing a great job in ranking in these, but these are the search queries that your buyers are searching. Best rated real estate agent for home selling Newport Beach area, right? So this is a when you come to putting together your specific content strategy, you can start to target some of these to help you rank higher on these websites. So we have this section why you're losing or where you can improve. And essentially, the first thing we want to look at is the authority gap. So you're not ranking for enough of the target keywords. So LLMs weight domain authority when deciding citation frequency. And at 27, ranking keywords, press coverage, and Wikipedia entry at the fastest path to citation parity. And so what we want to do is increase the amount of keywords on our website for our area. So this comes down to on-site content and structured data. So how are we presenting information in a format on our website that is easier to read by the LLM? And so what my recommendation here would be is to continue to build out different pages that provide net new information and data on that market. The nice thing about real estate is there is a very nice pairing between data, right? We can have data on how markets are moving, what current supply and demand looks like, things like that. But then layer in your own expert opinion and perspective, right? It's the same thing that when you're on a tour with a prospect, you are giving your own kind of perspective and opinions throughout the process. This needs to show up in your content. LLMs like information that it doesn't already have access to. And so your original perspective, your opinion on the market, in addition to the data, is going to provide a substantial opportunity to outperform. So this is the biggest gap engine. This is kind of what we were talking about before. So citations on the website are go to for helping rank on Google AI Overview. Also, Google is very much looking for their EAT standards, EEAT. And this is the same thing I was talking about with original perspective. They want experience and your perspective commentary on this information baked into your content. Also looks like there's an opportunity to include more FAQ schema. And this is just adding frequently asked questions to your website. If we jump back over to here and I scroll down to the bottom where I expect FAQs, it looks like you have some on the homepage. But then if we go to individual pages, we want to make sure that we are, including them on additional pages than just the homepage. This type of FAQ correlates directly to LLMs because we assume that the questions that our buyers are asking should be showing up and the answers should be showing up specifically in on your website in the FAQ. The other thing that we call out is we're increasingly see LinkedIn becoming a strong channel for AI search. When AI wants to understand if the company is credible, what they will do is they will go to third party websites like LinkedIn, Reddit, community forums, G2, right? Anywhere where people are communities or peers are talking about and sharing information with each other. And so what we're seeing with LinkedIn is if we say, okay, if we are trying to understand if Rutowski Real Estate is a credible realtor in this market, it's going to go look at all the sources, right? It's going to go to the Compass's, website and verify that Rutowski is a Compass brokerage with under, Compass Real Estate. And then it's also going to start looking at social platforms, right? Where is your Twitter? Where is your LinkedIn? Do you have this listed on your Twitter and LinkedIn? Are you providing information there? And so it starts to build this holistic, what we call entity authority of getting a full picture of who these individuals are, what they're talking about. And the same thing happens for service businesses as well as software. For software, it's looking at the founders, the team, right? Are they showing up as credible sources on the internet providing net new information? And so the recommendation here is starting to have a cadence in posting on LinkedIn. This is, going to help that entity authority raise over time. We then look at some of the traditional sources as well. So domain authority is quite low, 11 out of 30. Wikipedia, it looks like we have a Wikipedia page, which is great. Not a lot of press coverage, not a lot of brand SERPs. My guess is this is why you are not ranking on Google AI overview. Looks like you have a LinkedIn company LinkedIn page, a Crunchbase page, and couldn't find anything for YouTube. But yeah, the kind of recommendation I would guess is being able to show up on the SERP. And then you can see we're not finding FAQ schema on pages, how-to schema, organization schema, article posting, or blog or anything like that. It looks like you guys are kind of posting this under /journal, which is kind of this kind of border. I assume you guys did it to seem a little bit more academic and professional, but unfortunately when an LLM is scraping our website, it's looking for things that are more common like blog. Maybe it will find articles, and so it's actually saying, hey, we can't find this, right? It doesn't recognize your journal as a blog, which you're getting dinged on. And then you can create files that tell the website that tell the LLM how to understand and read your website, which is the llms.txt file. And it just says, this is how you can pull this information. So what we can do is expand on different queries. We can add FAQ to additional pages and start a weekly posting cadence on LinkedIn. It looks like there's a follow-up question here in the chat on daily content. It doesn't have to be daily. I think giving yourself a presence requires at least 2 to 3 posts a week. But if all you can do is one a week for now, that's better than nothing. It's just kind of the actual process of posting. We always recommend kind of comparison pages. It gets a little bit funky with real estate brokers, especially if you're under the same brokerage firm. But you can start writing some comparison pages on different markets. And then also how-to guides and buyer guides, right? So the information that you can provide to your your clients that you're working with, what are some of the things that they should know going into buying in your market? Some extended learning here. Of course, if you run this for yourself, I'm always happy to jump on and do a strategy session like this for you specifically. I do these all the time, and want to give people a very specific action plan on what they can solve. We also have some case studies that break down in more detail how we've been able to do this for other people. And then what a lot of people don't know, and it is a little bit hidden in this version, we're going to have a new version of this audit tool coming out probably later. I think we're going to launch it tomorrow. So this is going to change slightly. But for now, you can download the PDF, or what I recommend is the AI memory pack. This downloads a markdown file with all of the learnings here for you. So you can drop them in your LLM and make a plan on how to solve this for yourself. And it gives you a step by step guide on what you can walk through to help make these changes based off of the learnings we found. Now, the nice thing about AI search compared to SEO is that you can make a change and evaluate the performance of that change in the next couple of days or in the next couple of weeks, sometimes days. And so, what I recommend is running this on a weekly basis so you can really understand how things are tracking and how you are measuring closer to your performance. There are other tools that help monitor this more frequently. Ours is not meant to do that. Ours is meant to give you a snapshot and then also a very detailed instructions on what you can do to actually help improve some of these areas. Again, the three areas that we look at are technical, right? How is your website actually structured? Is it fast enough? Is it set up properly? On-site content, is the content that you're publishing original and providing net new perspective, whether through data or opinion? And then third is, what are other people talking about you? And this is kind of something that a lot of people haven't started to lean into as much, but third party citations and mentions from high authority websites that are industry specific are going to help increase your visibility on AI significantly more than just your own content on your website right now. If you want to learn more about that, feel free to book a strategy call and we can dive into what that looks like for your business specifically. So, thank you, Justin, for being a test subject on this. I did promise that we would get through the full audit in 20 minutes, and I think we're right on track here. If you want to run the audit for yourself on your own website, please use the link below, and we will drop that in the chat as well. And Justin, if you have any additional questions, I saw a few more come in. I'm happy to answer them for you. But it looks like you guys are doing a lot of the right things. It just seems like some tweaks. Well, thank you guys so much for joining today. Again, we do these workshops twice a week. On Tuesdays, we do live builds using AI and Claude Code to solve a marketer's task each week. The idea is that if you join multiple sessions, you build up an entire agent workforce to be able to help you with your marketing end to end. And then on our Thursday sessions, we do these live teardowns of, people in the audience or other successful companies and talk about why some things are working for, some companies and what they can do to fix it. So always try to be super tactical and want to make sure that we are constantly providing information for you that you can use to improve your ranking on AI and get more inbound demand and in more clients on your own business. So thank you again for joining us today. I will see you guys next week. And yeah, thank you again for tuning in.